Hi guys, it's Lisa. Today I want to talk to you about the gluteus medius. This is one of the three gluteal muscles. We are probably familiar with the gluteus maximus, which is on the posterior side of our pelvis. But the gluteus medius is on the lateral side, the edges of your hips. So a lot of times people tend to lack strength in these muscles, which will make certain things more difficult, such as hip abduction, abduction, which is the primary mover for the gluteus medius, is to move the hip open. Another way you can tell your gluteus medius is not strong is if you have challenge balancing on one leg. Yes. So think that you're doing hip abduction. Well, if you're standing on one leg and your other leg is lifting, you're sort of doing a hip abduction as well. And there are some things to understand when it comes to talking about flexibility and mobility. So being flexible means that you have a full range of motion. Your joints are able to move in their full range. So in a ball and socket joint, like shoulders and hips, you should be able to rotate the entire circumference of those joints. And then when we talk about mobility, specifically mobility is about having strength in the range of motion. So if your joints can move, that means you're flexible. We already know there's lots of flexible yogis and contortionists out there. And then we talk about mobility training. We talk about mobility. What is that? It means you need strength in your range of motion. Now, this is where people don't necessarily understand what they need to do to create more mobility. So I want to talk about mobility in your hips. The hip joint, it gets tight. Why would it get tight? Well, it's probably from sitting. It's probably from a lack of strength, right? And a lack of stretch. You need both for a healthy muscle. So I want to show you some of my favorite ways to strengthen and stretch your gluteus medius. So now come to your side body, grab a heavy weight here. I have a 5-pound weight. I'm going to put this right on top of my gluteus medius here. And then lifting up the hips, coming into a side bridge, and then lifting the leg. Here it is. It's that hip abduction. Lower and lift. I suggest doing at least 8 to 16 reps to really feel the strength. And I'm letting the weight on my hip to give more resistance. Another option you can take is to use a booty band or this mini loop band, which is fantastic for adding resistance. Taking that same move without the weight, but instead with the band, lift up into a side bridge and then abduction. Lower and press. Yep, and you want to keep those hips up for more challenge. If you want to modify this, you can lower the hips with the knee down and then lift the hips and the knee up. So again, I do recommend about 8 to 16 reps per set. You can hold at the top and do some pulses here. Great. Another fantastic way to use your mini loop band is to do fire hydrants. This is your hip abduction, hip abduction. Press your leg out to the side. And make sure to stabilize the rest of your body. I recommend putting a little more weight into the hand that is supporting the same side. Another way I like to use the band is to come into a bridge and then do some hip abduction at the top. Come into bridge, press up and out. Down, up, press. Down, up, press. And then adding on more challenge to just press. Out, out, out. And another fantastic way to use your band is to just do pulses here. I'm stacking my hips and then pressing up. Pulse. Keep the ankle flexed, activating through the entire leg. Good, so I'm feeling this right at the top of my hip. As well as you can do this standing. It's a lot easier to stand. Pressing out, out, and out. Another way that you can add some more challenge is, again, through doing hip abduction. I can do this on my back with my core. Using the core, keep the head and chest up, lengthen the legs, flex the ankles, press, press. So I'm abducting, getting into my medius again. And then finally, talking about how to stretch your gluteus medius, which, by the way, you'd also be stretching the piriformis in these same moves. So you can take a tune-up ball or you can take a foam roller to do a figure 4 stretch. So in your figure 4 stretch, make sure that you're keeping the ankle flexed to protect the knee joint. And I've got my gluteus, my piriformis, right on the foam roller, and I'm massaging it out. And if you want, you can also use a tune-up ball for the same thing, putting it right where your piriformis is. And then adding a little bit of a sway and rotate, find that sweet spot and get in there. Maybe you sway a little side to side. Taking your figure 4 onto your back, you can thread the needle of the strap through, and then you can pull onto your strap to bring your leg closer. Flex your ankles. This will protect your knee, and keep your back flat on the ground. Make sure to breathe, slow breaths. Allow for the stretch to happen in a sort of active, sort of an active stretch here. So when you think about that same position of the leg in figure 4, you want to take the same position of the leg here if you're doing a pigeon pose. However, if you decide to do a pigeon variation, I highly recommend not to go down and to stay upright. This is a much more active stretch. It's not wrong to come down and do sleeping pigeon. It just serves a different purpose, which is much more about flexibility. Again, I'm focusing on mobility. I'm focusing on strengthening and stretching. So holding up here. Also, you can put a block under the hip, anything that can support your hip here, and then sitting up tall. And then you'll feel the activation as you reach the right hip back, left hip forward, creating a little bit more tuck of the tailbone. Another wonderful way to stretch into your piriformis muscle is to bring the knees to stack. So my leg here, you'll see I'm doing still external rotation, but instead of the leg being more abducted, it's more inner. It's closer to the midline. So from here, I can just fold forward, and it feels so lovely to get this stretch. It gets right into the piriformis. Another way you can stretch the piriformis here is you can hug the knee in, keep your hip on the ground, take a strap, stretch the leg up, bring it across the midline of your body. So my hip is still on the ground and I'm stretching the leg over the midline. You can take this even further and take it all the way down into a twist. Same thing. One more stretch here. So coming into a lizard pose, turn your chest towards your leg. Notice now that my leg is in an external rotation, just like in half pigeon. I'm taking that same variation ideally, but now I'm rolling onto my hip as well. I'm on my side hip and then letting my elbow come down if I need it. If you want more intensity, stay on the hand, and then hug your knee into your chest. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today to learn about your gluteus medius. If you enjoy these kinds of exercises, you will love my classes. I love to exercise the gluteus medius and all kinds of other important muscle groups. So I do teach bar at Glow Yoga SF. You can sign up or go to the website and check out all of the pre-recorded classes I have already created, as well as take my live classes every Monday at 5:30 and Saturday at 10:30. In addition, I do teach Yoga Sculpt. If you are more interested in a Yoga Sculpt format, please message me directly and I can send you the link to my Zoom. Thank you so much again for joining me to learn about fitness, learning about your body, and I just want you to feel healthy and happy living your best life. Thank you so much.